Good evening, welcome to another exciting edition of Big Talk on Global Television. My name is Ubong Osoro, your host for the show tonight. Tonight on the show, we will be looking at opposition movements. How have they been able to contribute to Nigeria's growing political space? Some people say that the political space in Nigeria is shrinking, but we have more than 16 political parties at the last count. And when INEC came out with the list of people that want to register, more than 200 are on the queue to get registered, and there are questions around political parties. How are they faring? Are they able to challenge the ruling All Progressive Congress, or even the main opposition party, as they call themselves, the PDP? Don't forget we have the Labour Party and the rest of the other parties that we have. Tonight, we're hoping to have national chairman of one of the parties that will be joining us in our Abuja studios here to help make sense of the discussion. But before we actually get to introduce our guest in the studio, let's go for a short break, and when we're back, I'll take you through what I call perspective, issues that are ranging on social media tonight, political issues. I highlight them and bring the opinions to you tonight. Welcome back on the program. I have joining me tonight to help make sense of the discussion, and is our National Assembly correspondent. I call him Mr. National Assembly Topsy Gima. A very good evening to you.
Ubo Griffin, thank you for having me on the program Big Talk this evening.
All right, so what's going on in the National Assembly? I heard our senators are on recess. What does that mean?
Yeah, sure. Recess simply means vacation, break. Usually, anybody that works has a particular period of time that he or she takes to be away from the office. In National Assembly, when they take a break, they call it recess, meaning plenaries, committees, or whatever, might not be holding that the way you often know when they are really sitting. And so, like this time around, there's this, in all democracies around the world, there's a particular period in time that all democracies in the world go on break, and that is in the month of June. But in Nigeria, for instance, they take their break at the end of July. Why is it so? Most parents prefer when their kids or their wards are equally on break in schools in Nigeria, so that by the time they are in break, they will not take break and move with them to any part of the world to stay with them. And that's why they will delay. Instead of having it in the month of June, they will stay till almost at the end of July. And then when they get when they get to July, they will now move and stay until September, or almost at the end of September before they come back. That's the practice since I became a correspondent in the National Assembly.
You know, Topsy, when you said any part of the world, and it just got to my mind, but I'll come back to you about people going to any part of the world. It's not bad to travel, right?
Yeah.
People can actually travel, but there are questions surrounding that. But tonight, let's go look at the perspective we have about some issues that are trending on social media, political issues, as Topsy will also be sharing his thoughts with us as we check the story. Let's check the first story tonight. NNPCL boss Ojulari, the group chief executive officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, BIO, Ojulari, today declared he is not a politician, saying he will have to learn being a bit more political. I'm going to be taking these stories one after the other, Topsy, before so I'll just get your thoughts on this. We saw stories coming out that Ojulari at a point was sacked. We saw the story and we saw a lot of commentary about that. maybe he was engaged in a wrongdoing. There are commentary that there are people that may not like his face and don't want him to stay in the office. And today we saw him, while speaking, saying maybe he needs to learn how to be a politician because he's not a politician. He came in to just do the job, and it seems some people are not happy about that. Let's talk about that. You've covered very sensitive sectors for a long time.
Yeah.
Does it mean that when people transition from the private industries into government, they have to learn how to become politicians?
Usually, politics is for every human being. It's only that maybe at a point you are considered to be a technocrat. In the case of being the group manager of NNPC, you are appointed by a politician. That's the president of the country, which gives you the opportunity to lead a very big organization or an institution like NNPC. And therefore, it is considered most at times that only those who know the nitty-gritty of what petroleum is all about, that they are appointed to become what they should become, like in the case of Bayo Ojulari. And so he has the right to say he's not a politician, in the sense that his capability of being what he is today based on what he's able to do, and that's why they gave him the appointment to become the GCO of that particular organization. And so if he contests by saying he's a politician, it then means he's likely going to have some kind of conflict with the person that appointed him and some other persons. And so it's much important for him to remain like a technocrat and do the job assigned to him to do. And that's exactly what he is saying. For instance, some politicians might be dragging him into politics. Why? He's not expected to do that, because he has an appointed person who gave him that responsibility to do at a point. And so if he decides to become a politician, he's actually going to shoot himself on the foot.
All right, so let's take the next story for tonight. The second story says, Tinubu vows to restore Nigeria's pride and dignity. Okay, so President Bola Tinubu has said he is committed to restoring Nigeria's pride and dignity on the global stage following his engagement in Japan and in Brazil. Topsy, I'd like to ask this now. That insinuation that's about Nigeria losing respect, about the green passports not holding as much value, as much respect as it should hold, or as it used to hold in the 70s, in the 80s now. Let's talk about that. Are Nigerians really respected around the world? And come on, we've done a lot as a country, and we have been individuals that have been very brilliant. Is that not worthy of being respected for?
Yeah, Nigerians are respected around the world. It's only that because of the foreign diplomacy of the American president, Donald Trump, who has actually come on board and turned everything around. And because America is considered to be number one on the planet, whatever it does, it affects nearly everybody. And everybody thinks like the way American president thinks. And so with the visit that the president paid to these two countries, talking about Japan and Brazil, it was all intended, to create more diplomacy, bilateral talks with these two presidents, so that Nigeria will find its footing in the global world. And I think besides just making Nigeria known, economically it's going to change Nigeria, in the sense that as much as America slams country with tariffs, it is important for Nigeria to go outside, America, create more relationship, create diplomacy with other countries in the world, so that at the end of the day, whatever Nigeria needs, he gets it without any undue anxiety. And so that's the way I see it. But Nigerians are greatly respected. And don't forget, because of the struggle for the economy, many people are leaving the shores of Nigeria to other countries. And because they are moving in droves, that creates some kind of panic to wherever they are going. And because of that, those countries try to regulate who goes in, who comes out. That's the way it is. But not that we are not respected. Nigerians are respected in any country they go, except that America, with the diplomacy America has come up with under the government of Donald Trump, things have really changed. And that's exactly what we are trying to say in this case. Not that Nigerians are not respected. We are respected wherever we go.
That can actually be debated. Yes, respected, maybe yes. But the question is, how much of the respect that we have these days, right? Because there are a lot of issues concerning not just foreign diplomacy issues, there are issues concerning fraud, And a lot of some Nigerians, right, have been engaged in fraud, and it's been like a poster to Africa. And people talk about that a lot. A lot of issues. We've seen xenophobic attacks against Nigerians in South Africa. Of recent, in Ghana, we saw shops of Nigerians being vandalized, and that just brings out the issue, because remember in 1972, 78, and all of that, there was a time Nigeria was so respected in Africa. So that talks about how respected are we. Like you mentioned, not just America. Yes, America has a foreign policy that trying to limit people. Even the UK, the Conservative Party at this time, is also looking at trying to limit immigrants coming. But the question is, if the country was doing well, will there be need? Will young people in Nigeria be scrambling to leave the shores of this country?
Well, Ubong, you talked about other countries in the African continent sometimes don't just want to see Nigeria. It's very obvious that you are likely to see that. Nigerians, wherever they go, they try to dominate, because you have the resilience in doing whatever you want to do. If it's going to school, you want to excel far even more than the Europeans or either the white people. If it's in the African continent, wherever you go, in terms of business, you see us outshining nearly everybody. And whoever that struggles at the level at which Nigerians are really doing is likely to attract enemies. That's the way it is. Not that we are dubious or we are fraudulent in our activities. Nigerians are resilient. Take, for instance, things that are happening in this country. To a very large extent, you will expect, reactions from people in different ways. But despite hardships, we will see them in various shapes and sizes, but Nigerians remain focused. And then many focused by formulating methods of ways of how to survive. So that's the way they do their things. And so wherever he goes, he dominates. And if he dominates, he creates enemies. And that's exactly what you see either in South Africa or in America. You should be expecting that really happening by seeing what we are seeing today in other African countries. And don't forget, the most populous black African countries is Nigeria. Nigeria has a huge number of blacks. And whenever you see 10 blacks, about either 6 or 7 are Nigerians. And so nearly every action that's considered to be bad will be associated to Nigeria, because we are many in number. We are we have a huge population. And that
you remember Wole Soyinka, former Nobel laureate, actually talked about one of the days where he was detained and searched at airports, and we hear these complaints. But at Topsy now, let's move to the next story we have tonight.
All right.
The next story we're having tonight, let's have the story. Okay, so this story says Ebonyi State government has announced an increase in the minimum wage of state civil servants, raising the increase from 70,000 to 90,000 naira. Ebonyi State raises minimum wage to 90,000 naira. Topsy, I'm coming to you. Minimum wage, we saw government set it at 70,000, and now Ebonyi is going a step further. Governor Nwaifuru saying 90,000 minimum wage in Ebonyi State. Is that a plus to the government?
Well, because subsidy has been...
You had to stagger.
No, I'm not staggering anymore, I must confess. Subsidy has been removed and there's much money. What governors take this time around in this present administration far more than what they used to take when Buhari was in government. Because subsidy has been removed. And if subsidy is removed like the way it is, it then means what is given to governors to run their states will increase, which means they have so much money now in their hands to do whatever they want to do. And so because they are politicians, the best way of satisfying their needs is to increase the salary of this law.
Is that stomach infrastructure?
Yes, just increase their salary from level 1 to 7, so that at the end of the day, they'll be singing songs for him. But what is needed, if you believe that you're actually out to serve the people, Nigerians, they expect to see factories and development all over town. Not necessarily just providing money without doing the other thing being expected, which is not the right thing in development. Right. Development comes along with infrastructural development, where things are being produced, and then you turn around the economy. That creates economy and growth. But where you just pay salary, what is meant for us, you are now converting to pay salary. Nobody knows how much he gets by the time he does that.
Right. So that question. Let me even ask Topsy: is 90,000 as good as it is from this governor, because there are states that actually really struggle to accept it, are going to pay the 70,000 or not. 90,000, is it able to take somebody for a month in the president of Nigeria?
After how much in the first place in 90,000 naira? We look at what is actually happening in the market. Obviously,
You go to the market.
One goes to the market. Everybody eats. If you eat, which of course you must eat, where do you get the food stuff? You have to go to the market and buy those food stuff for you to feed with your family. And so if you realize that even if you have 100,000 naira, for instance, to go to the market, you come back home with the items in your pockets. And so 90,000 naira cannot sustain you for 30 days as it is. But it's just being political by giving 90,000 naira, or like the federal government said, for level 1 to 7, you collect 70,000 naira. Then the governor is saying, and we have just added something on top of that 70,000, making 90, some 72. Like in Kaduna, for instance, 72,000 naira. Some go beyond that. So are still at that 70,000. Not that there's no state, only in terms of the internal revenue generated that is poor. But in terms of what is given to them, there's so much money given to the governors in all the 36 states, including the FCT as it is.
So this 90,000, is it a step in a good direction?
It might not be a step in a good direction, but it's better than than nothing. Like I said initially, I told you the most important thing, if you believe that you have so much money, change this money to developing factories so that you make people who are unemployed to be employable. That's the way it's supposed to be. There is money on all of these governors that we have in the states. There's a lot of money among them because of the removal of subsidy in this present administration. And so the money that was supposed to have given to some individuals who they were using the money in those days can now be used in development of the country. And that's exactly what is expected of every governor. Not just increasing salary of workers from level 1 to 7, but ensure that you develop the state in which you are coming from. Like for instance, in Benue, I'm told, the Reverend Father that governs or that rules that state, things are really taking shape in that state because of the infrastructural development. Bridges are being built. Roads that have been left on top for very many years are beginning to take a different dimension or a different look. This is exactly what is called development. But in a situation where you increase salary and allow people to struggle to survive on their own, it doesn't really make sense. And so you need to complement in every way that is expected for a human being to survive and to survive very, very well.
All right, so let's take one more story tonight. Okay, so this story says ADC demands forensic audits of INEC's first week voter registration data ahead of the 2027 elections. The African Democratic Congress has demanded a forensic audit of the Independent National Electoral Commission's first week voter registration figures. Okay, so I know you spoke with the INEC chairman the other time on your program, and we saw INEC campaigning. INEC came out to tell Nigerians to come get their PVCs, that's the permanent voter card, and ADC, who are positioning themselves as a frontline opposition party. I don't know how strong the party is. Maybe you do. Maybe you want to tell us about that. But ADC is saying, INEC, give us the data of those Nigerians that registered in the first week. I know this registration is going to last for 1 year. And a lot of Nigerians like to rush things. I've seen it done over and over and again, over different policies of government. Go get your BVNs. Some persons will wait till the last time when their phone numbers are blocked and they start calling around. When they had ample time to do that, right? This window is open and INEC is saying, come and register. But ADC is saying, give us the data from the first week. Does this have to do with mistrust of the electoral umpire? Is there a disconnect between INEC and the people?
Usually, Ubong, you should really expect, because they are opposition, nearly every action that's taken requires being criticized so that they will have more, they make a lot of noise around so that people will get to know that they exist. But again, I remember at a particular time when I invited the resident electoral commissioner FCT to appear with us on a program here on the station. I asked him this question: it will be suicidal for you to talk about online registration. People who have turned 18 to be registered, or those who lost their cards, can now come for renew, or you are transferring from Lagos to come and stay in Abuja, you now come for the renew. The question here is, do you have the number of those that have equally died? Because there's a window to come into existence and there's a window to exit from existence. And there must be a complete data. Otherwise, it will be suicidal in the sense that you are merely running a system that takes in people without telling us how they exit. And then you not build up a figure to it. And anybody who wants to manipulate with figures, can you take advantage of those who have died by making them to be alive and then use the number to do whatever he wants to do? And I think it was on that basis that this opposition are coming. Tell us basically, like the man came and said in just one day, they got closer to about 76,000 nationally. And today, and if you continue to go into information, reading from one page to another,
I've seen 203,000, I've seen figures.
Yeah, they're getting to even millions, as a matter of fact, in just about a week or thereabout. And so one needs to really ask he or herself basically, is it figure completely genuine, true and honest in itself? Or something around is being manipulated for some other reasons going forward when 2027 election will be coming around? That's exactly what the opposition is really saying.
All right, thank you so much. Topsy, I'm still staying with you as we're trying to get contact with somebody who will be talking to us, or will be joining us via Zoom to actually share his thoughts with us on the program. Tonight, we want to focus on our opposition politics. How important is opposition in our developing democracy? Some people call our democracy a baby democracy that we're still developing. We are growing. I spoke with somebody who told me that the US had over 200 years to experiment and get better. And Nigeria, we've just done how many years? Uninterrupted, maybe just 25 years, 26 years and thereabout. So there's still a lot to learn. Do you agree that maybe we've lost grip of the opposition movements, that the opposition are not as vibrant as they should be with the movements that we keep having of governors from PDP to the APC? We've seen lawmakers who were elected on the platform of the Labour Party. We've seen them move to the APC too. Are we losing grip of the opposition movements? Are we turning the country into a one-party system?
Usually opposition appears to be that segment in politics that keeps the ruling party on check. Because if the opposition keeps the ruling party on check, it makes the ruling party to do the right thing at the right time. But if any other person avoids being in opposition and they find himself in the ruling party, and that means you are not going to have a kind of a dictatorial regime at the end of the day, because nobody says anything, against whatever policy being formulated or being implemented. And that's the more reason why we need to have a very strong opposition, vibrant one indeed. But in Nigeria, for instance, because of corruption, people who have been in government and they were assigned to do certain things that they're supposed to have done, but they refuse to do that, they amass wealth for themselves, and they are still in government. And when they get closer to the end of the show, what they will now do is to port out from where they have been to another so that they will be identified. For instance, the ruling party wants to make sure that nearly everybody belongs to the ruling party, so that at the end of the day, when the next round of election comes up, the person who wants to contest on any platform within the ruling party gets it very easily. And that's why you see people leaving the opposition parties to join themselves, form a coalition, or sleeping with the ruling party just to avoid being investigated as a matter of fact. And so it does not make opposition to be healthy. It does not make governance to be very, very healthy. Because the most fundamental and the good aspect of any country that practices democracy should have a very strong opposition, so that the person who's actually ruling will be afraid of doing anything, because he believes the person who sits there watching him is likely to say something that will not derail the entire pattern of his own governance. And that's the more reason why you need to have, a very strong opposition. But in Nigeria, it's not the case. Nearly everybody leaves to join the ruling party.
All right. So the opposition movements I've been talking to, we've seen the ADC, for instance, they have people like the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who people say maybe is the one inheriting the 8 million votes of late former President Muhammadu Buhari. And there's a former governor of Rivers State, Chibuike Amechi, who just yesterday he came out to inform Nigerians that he's going to be running for presidency on the platform of the ADC, he's been very clear about that. There's an aero fight somewhere between the SDP and the ADC. Very also popular. Well, of course, the former governor of Kaduna State was able to win elections, right? And there's a David Mark who was in the Senate for a very long time, understands the politics of winning elections, and so many other persons. Peter Obi may even be in the fray, right? Who had 6 million votes at the last count. Should the ruling party be threatened about this? And that's one question on one side. The other question is, do you think in Nigeria, the opposition has been able to vibrantly interface with the ruling party?
Well, when you were saying Atiku has a certain number of voters to inherit.
No, I said late former President Muhammadu Buhari always brought to the table 6 million, 8 million votes. So people said, who are going to be inheriting the votes? And there are suggestions. Suggestions that maybe
there's no issue of inheriting.
Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar will be inheriting that vote.
I want you to look into the use of the word inherit. There's nothing inheritance in this aspect, as a matter of fact. Nigerians are not goods. That probably they are kept in one place, and the owner will come and pack them some other day. It's not like that. We are human beings. We are conscious of what we are doing as human beings. So when you for the fact that Buhari was able to have 6 million or either 10 million or whatever, doesn't really mean that figure still remains when it comes to another round of election. It's not like that.
We saw him in 2000.
The individual matters a lot.
2003, he had about
this
about
is
6
Buhari.
million. In 2008, former late President Muhammadu Buhari had, and in 2011 he had 6 million. So he was always bringing over 6 million votes to the table.
Forget about these figures you are just mentioning. These figures, they do not in any way account to anything when it comes to another round of election. As a matter of fact, Buhari was an entity of his own. He had an aura around him to gather these figures that you have just mentioned.
So who will inherit the figures?
Assuming if I were to be the person, will I inherit the figures in the first place? So the character becomes so important in this case. The character to inherit the figures becomes so important in this case. Who are these ones that are going to inherit these figures you have so far mentioned? But actually, the person needs to do his homework clearly. Being acceptable in society, well known politically, covering the entire landscape of Nigeria before you can now say.
But then
you have to consider. Don't forget. Wait. Don't forget. You have to consider the voter apathy. For the fact that Nigeria have stayed in governance when Buhari was there 8 years. Now we are into this present administration 2 years down the line, stay counting. A lot of things have come into play, and people are beginning to lose interest in politics. There are so many people who are likely not going to even vote because they believe votes, they don't even count. You queue inside rain, inside sunshine, wind, and whatever. At the end of the day, when they are announcing the results, you get a different thing altogether. Yeah, the characters that you'll be seeing on the screen that are considered to be your leaders are not the ones you actually voted. Yeah. And so you have to put all these factors into play before you come to say inherit. Who inherits what? Who inherits what in the first place?
All right, Topsy. But still staying on that matter, because people are of the opinion that in the north, it seems like the votes as a bloc. And the bloc was maybe queuing behind the former late president at Muhammadu Buhari. He had that number that believed in his ideology. You just mentioned some issues. You mentioned acceptability, spread, and all of that ideology. So don't you think that there's a politician in the north now, maybe Kwankwaso, he got 1 million the last time. Maybe Atiku Abubakar, who also was able to get about 7 million, 8 million the last time. Is somebody not going to also get into that President Muhammadu Buhari catch area and get those votes maybe by persuading them? Are you not seeing that argument?
I don't see that. That argument doesn't really stand. I must tell you the truth because don't forget, at the time Buhari came in, wanted to contest to become the president of the country in 2015. Every Nigerian saw him as a messiah.
Most Nigerians
saw him as a messiah. Some saw him as an angel made from heaven coming to govern us. And so because they made comparison between Buhari and then the exiting government of Jonathan. So they felt Jonathan was corrupt, or the government was very, very clueless. So they needed somebody who they thought was going to do something of probably very important to them. But by the time he created that particular scenario in the minds of Nigerians, people all went out to vote for him. But when he got into governance, remaining in Villa like the way it is, at the end of the day, we began to see a different ball game being played in the art of governance in Nigeria. And so people began to lose
But he won the
confidence.
second elections.
No, he won second election because he used the incumbent power to do whatever he wanted to do. Not that they didn't wrestle power with him. People wrestled power from him, but because he had the control of the military, he had the control of the DSS, had the control of the police, and those who were eating with him were equally there. And so they muzzled everybody to work according to what they wanted to get at the end of the day. Not that he actually got on the platters of gold. I must tell you the truth.
All right, Topsy, let's go for a short break. We're having an interesting edition, discussion with our National Assembly correspondent who's actually giving us insights about some issues. And I'm talking about votes that former President Buhari left. And there's a lot of conversation around that. Who is going to get the vote? Is it Peter Obi? Is it an Atiku Abubakar? Is it an El Rufai? Because these people will vote. But who will they vote for? Topsy, when I come back, you tell me who you think they will vote for. Let's go for this short break. Good evening, welcome to the show. If you're just joining us, this is Big Talk on Global Television. My name is Ubong Usoro, and joining me tonight in the studio, I beg your pardon, is our National Assembly correspondent Topsy Gimba, who's been helping us analyze some of the things that are happening in the National Assembly. Tonight, we're looking at the opposition movement, and we have joining us the National Chairman via Zoom. Frank Ukonga is the National Chairman of Democratic Alliance, DA, is joining us to help make sense of the discussion. A very good evening to you, Honorable.
Good evening, sir.
How are you and how is DA doing in a space that looks like the opposition parties are all decamping to the ruling parties?
And that is for some parties. DA is not part of it. We are not decamping, we are on our own.
All right. So what are the plans? Are you seeing this government is doing well? There's a coalition. Are you looking at joining the coalition in future? Are you planning towards 2027? Maybe you'll file a presidential candidate. What are the plans of your party? Maybe you just like to share with us.
The plans of our party is that we are going to be on ballot in 2027. Because of our manifesto, our ideology are different from all other political parties, and we may not be able to actualize our aims and objectives through them, as most of them have been tried and they failed. DA is coming out with a brand new political ideology, methodology, and implementation of all the projects that we have, the Marshall plans. So we are going going to field the presidential candidate in 2027, and hopefully I will contest the primaries of my party, of the party in 2027, and if I win, then I will be the presidential candidate. And we are going to field 1,500 candidates in all the positions as we did in 2019.
All right, so there are talks about the place of the opposition party, opposition parties in Nigeria, and I'd just like to ask that question. You know, you sound so convinced that we are going to present candidates in 100, 1,500 and, you know, positions as we did before and all of that. But there are talks about funding. There are talks about visibility. There are talks about being accepted. Do you have the acceptability? Do you have the national spirit to muscle with the ruling party, knowing that it seems our politics has become so dollarized? I have my colleague Topsy Gimba after this question who will also be asking you some questions, Chairman.
Okay. We are not talking of the war chest. You said muscle. In political science, we call it war chest. Yes, some parties may have very formidable war chest. Yes, but the people out there, they are not out for war chest right now. They are out for a party that will deliver the dividend of democracy. They are out to find things and life easier, to make Nigeria work for them and for us all. So the electorate, our objective is to educate them. Once we are fully back, to educate them on the need for them, the usefulness of their voters card, and how they can use it wisely to have a good government who will deliver the dividends of democracy. So we are not just hoping that we'll be on ballot and go and be president. No, we'll be on ballot with strict and very vocal voters orientation and education.
All right, Topsy.
Yeah, Honorable, let me just find out from you, sir. It sounds so like a broken record when you now say your party is not decamping. But you didn't tell us how many do you have in that state, so that we can put figures correctly to know who's decamping, who's not, so that we know that it's Democratic Alliance they are not really leaving. Otherwise, it sounds so broken.
Yes. We cannot be mentioning names now. As I told you before, we are having some little cases in court, and it will be some prejudice to discuss too much details of our party.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. Sir. Do you have any elective member, either as a councillor or either a chairman or either state assembly or national assembly in your party?
For now, no.
Then who is decamping? Who's not decamping? If you don't have from councillor all the way to the federal levels.
But hopefully, in due course, we hope to make a difference.
I didn't get you.
He said in due course, the hope.
I say for now, we do not have a member of any of these posts you have mentioned.
Okay.
In due course,
Okay. Can you, sir, with due respect, Honorable, can you further explain to us your spread nationally?
Our spread, we are in all the states of Nigeria. We have chairmen around the 36 states of Nigeria. We have chairmen in all the 776 local governments. You are talking about our structure, and we are well structured, even up to ward levels. And we are only waiting for our little access to ballot with INEC to be decided by the court, so that we can flag up through a NEC meeting and our convention.
All right,
okay. Let me just. Your party is called Democratic Alliance. Are you in alliance with some parties so that you can form a very strong, formidable move going forward for 2027? And as the name implies, Democratic Alliance. Are you in alliance with some political parties?
Yes, we have had offers from ADC, from AA, from several other parties. You understand? And they are calling us into alliance. But after, by September, inshallah, or latest before December, we shall have a NEC meeting by which we will decide whether to go with them or to go solo. but we have our terms of engagement with any political party we are going into alliance with.
All right, so Honorable, I have this question for you. There are talks that we have so many political parties in Nigeria, and I saw the last list of political parties wanting to be registered by INEC. And people say, why do we have so many political parties? And it seems opposition becomes effective. What's your opinion on that? On one note, do you think that we should maybe limit the numbers of political parties we have to maybe just maybe four political parties that are strong, very strong, that alternatives are there, and not have maybe 100 political parties that are not so strong, maybe for the lack of the right words?
Yes, the only panacea against forming many political parties is good governance. And in Nigeria, this good governance has eluded the electorate. So you will continue to have more associations wanting to register as a political party. And again, to correct the impression that Nigeria has many political parties, we only have 19 political parties now that are duly registered. And 200 and say 150 are wanting to join them. Now, in South Africa have 1,700 political parties registered to a population of less than 60 million. We have only 19 political parties to a population of 250, almost 300 million. America, the United States, has almost 1,200 political parties registered. India has 12,500 political parties registered. Even Afghanistan has almost 600 political parties. Togo here has 200 political parties registered. Cotonou, the next one, Republic of Benin, next to us, has 300 political parties. Côte d'Ivoire has 350. France has 600 political parties. England has 520 political parties registered, and they contest. Remember, political parties are in the constitution of parties. There are other things the political parties want to do apart from contesting or access to the ballot. There are many political parties that are registered in many parts of the world that do not present candidates, but they concentrate in our oversight functions. Like some are green parties, they plant trees. Some are for construction of roads, some are for social infrastructure development, some are for climatic development, some are for education. You understand? And the oversight function of DA is education. You understand? We want to educate Nigerians with building schools, support for schools, and whatnot.
Right.
So it's not parties are not really registered for access to ballot.
Yeah.
Elections.
Yeah, Honorable. We are so enlightened with the number of political parties across other countries in the world, where you mention India, you mention South Africa, you mention America, with a huge number of political parties. But the question here is, things are not done like other countries do in their own country, like Nigeria. Nigeria, for instance, this political party, you say we have only but 19. But let me tell you, I had the opportunity of being at the Coalition Center here at the International Conference Center in Abuja, 2023 presidential election. At a point when we were expecting to see the real-out of the result, using real-time result, using the machines, we began to see the national chairman of INEC was using papers to announce the results. So one other person or some other persons were not so happy about it. The next day, we now saw a gang up of all political parties' heads coming to International Conference Center to support the INEC chairman to continue using a manual way of reading the result, other than what they told us previously, that we are going to use machine in detecting or in announcing results. Where does it happen where political parties will now gang up to support a system that Nigerians are saying no?
Thank you very much. That particular election was 2019, where the political parties came and supported.
No. It's 2023. 2023. Let me tell you, Dino Melaye, who was the returning officer for PDP, was ranting at the International Conference Center, And then the next day, we now saw the chairman of IPA, that's Intergovernmental Advisory Council, in the person of Engineer Yagbagi, and many other political parties. They came there and supported that Dino should not be given the opportunity to talk. Meanwhile, there are political parties and their chairmen, some of them contested for presidential election. But when the results were being announced, they now gang up against their own member who was equally in a position like them. Where does it happen in India or in America or either in South Africa like you mentioned?
Look, political parties during election have alliances, just as you said. And our constitution assigned the Electoral Act 2022 by late President Buhari provided for manual elections at the discretion of the national chairman of INEC. Go and read it well. It is written in italic towards the end of the Electoral Act. You know, and you can understand that late President Buhari also was the chairman and of a small political party, CPC. So he knows the intricacies of relying on PV, all these machines that you are talking about. You understand? Uploading through BVN and through all these machines.
Yeah.
So they provided for it. You understand?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
That the INEC can release results based on manual tabulation. So if finally that maybe there is no electricity, there is in card reader, in all these things, in IPR transmission, we can use the manual. And in the manual, every party has an agent there. They also have a copy of the election result in each polling unit, in each zonal unit, in each counting center. They can tabulate this in their own situation rooms. So
Right.
there is no rigging about manual.
Right. Right, Honorable, I'll just because like you know, Nigeria's election have a lot of complaints concerning rigging. And even in the last election, there were a lot of complaints and there were videos on social media. Those videos are still there till today. And where we saw Nigerians videoing and posting concerning rigging. But I'll just let that go because that has to be in the past now. Except that with lessons that we learn and I can move forward. Because a lot of talks about that elections, you know, actually occurred. But I'd like to ask you now, moving forward, what do you think a vibrant opposition movement in Nigeria should be like? Because people had hopes that maybe the PDP, after losing power, would be so vibrant in offering an alternative, and it shows it may be showing that they are not so vibrant, right? They've even talked about it. Their members have talked about it. And the Labour Party came, and it looks as if they are losing steam. And even with the ADC, we are seeing people from the ADC decamping from the ADC, just 1 month into the ADC, back into the APC. So you just ask yourself, what does it mean? How does a vibrant opposition movement in Nigeria look like? Do you have an idea?
A vibrant opposition movement is a movement that has ideology, that has focus, determination, and is all encompassing. But what we have in Nigeria are reactionary opposition movement formed out of different commissions and commissions. You understand? Right. Like even the coming to APC into our system was because PDP did not started to fail. Then people were looking for an alternative, and the APC story was so a cause looking for a hero, and they moved in and they became the hero of that era.
Right.
Same thing that is repeating itself now. There is a cause now looking for a hero, right? People are suffering out of the policies of fuel subsidy removal and the
Right. Okay.
liberalization
Okay.
of currency.
All right. So, yeah. So, I'll allow Topsy ask his last questions before as we gear up towards rounding up the program. Honorable, yeah, Topsy.
Yeah.
That we look for a hero.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, understood. Topsy. go
Yeah.
ahead.
So honorable, basically, what's your view, like going forward for 2027 presidential election going forward? Can you see tomorrow?
What?
Can you see tomorrow on 2027 election?
What?
Do you have the ability of seeing tomorrow to be able to tell us how it's going to look like?
If to come to the studio tomorrow,
No, you as a person, as a politician who has been on ground for a very long time, can you, in a way, on your own opinion, talk about what do you expect to see in 2027?
that is what I'm telling you, that in 2027, there will emerge a hero party that will galvanize the feeling of the people, and they will win,
Right.
depending on how they are able to mobilize the community, the electorate, to buy them with their own programs.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You understand? That was what it.
All right. Thank you so much, Honorable Frank Okonga, 2019 presidential candidate for the Democratic Alliance and currently the national chairman of the Democratic Alliance. Before we leave the studio, Topsy, I'd like to get your views on that particular interview.
Yeah, actually, I understood to a very large extent where the person you had just spoken to
Honorable
concern,
Frank Okonga.
yeah, his direction. One major factor that affects opposition in Nigeria is because most of these political parties that we see numbering to 19, aside from the ruling party and the big oppositions, most of them their offices are in their handbags. They are just waiting for somebody to buy them.
Thank you so much, Topsy Gimba. Thank you so much, Topsy Gimba, for coming. He said offices are in their handbag. That's a very light note to end the show tonight. But thank you so much. I really do appreciate your take. Well, my question, Topsy, this is going to be off record now. Maybe when we get
You're whispering to me.
you will tell me those that will inherit the votes, because people keep talking about it. 6 million votes, 8 million votes. Who will inherit that vote? You have to go and do a research and tell us who will inherit President Muhammadu Buhari's vote.
I will do that.
Thank you so much, Topsy Gimba, our National Assembly correspondent, for coming on the program tonight. My name is Ubong Osoro, and this is me in Abuja saying good night.